see energy here?
Yeah, you're amplifying it.
So we'll goose it up just a little bit. Sometimes the environment is scattered enough and there is enough motion that it makes it a little more difficult. But if you're accustomed to seeing it, all it is energy is everywhere, but energy that is focused is easier to see. So sometimes the energy, soften your vision, look at Esther as if you're wanting to see through her. Try to see through her center as if there is a red dot on the back of her coat that you would like to see. And just soften your vision. If you are wearing glasses, sometimes it's easier to see energy without them because your glasses have caused you to focus your eyes in a different way. So just look at Esther and you will see something that is sort of like a shadow around her, but instead of being the absence of light, it is light.
Well,
anyone getting a picture of it? If you're not, don't worry about it. Keep watching.
Wow.
And now sometimes even when Esther moves, it stays. And that's what that orb is. In other words, it's energy. First, let us remind you that the way you receive these blocks of thought is not auditory. It's a unconscious interpretation of a vibration that causes a thought to occur to you. Okay. And when you translate the block of thought into something auditory, as Esther is doing, we would call you a verbal translator. As you are receiving blocks of thought and translating it into visual things, then you are a visual translator or a seer. And if it is happening quite a bit to you, it means that you are beginning to interpret vibration. And those are just the beginning of that. In other words, those flashes are you receiving a block of thought that you're translating. It's important to understand that it isn't that non-physical is putting something out there in the air that anyone can see. It's that there is a vibration there that becomes visible to you because of the alignment that you are achieving, you see. Mm-hmm. And very often people are experiencing some of both. In other words, it's a wonderful thing to receive blocks of thought that you can translate into words or meaning at the same time that you are seeing visual images. Our strongest encouragement to you is don't try to make it happen. Understand that it has been set into motion. It is something that you've intended. It is unfolding naturally. And let your work, and we are saying the same thing again and again because it's always the same answer to these questions, put yourself in a place of allowing it to come. The moment that you get fixated on one of them and try really hard to see it or understand it or to peruse it before you are able to, you turn upstream and it all goes away. And so just have the attitude that you know it's unfolding, you're happy with the speed of its unfolding, you know that you're doing all the work that is exactly right, and just enjoy the process of this. Just relax and allow it to happen naturally. The next thing we want to say to you, we understand that it is a bit unsettling to begin tapping into a vibration that has no boundaries and that you cannot isolate in terms of time or space. But you can identify it in terms of vibration. So it must be enough, because it's all you can do, for you to feel yourself into alignment with it. And it requires, from our point of view, it requires, in order to keep yourself happily moving toward that which you are reaching for, it only requires an understanding that the better it feels, the more in alignment it is with your true intentions. And if it feels uncomfortable, then something's out of whack, and just let go of the thought. Everything that is source energy is pure positive energy. And from your framework, you would call it resistance-free. That's why we find the words pure, positive energy. But every thought that has ever been thought still exists. And so it's possible for you to, in your trying to connect, to be pointed upstream enough that you tap in to a stream of thought that has been generated from human conscious minds. There are a lot of people that don't mean to be doing that, but that's what happens when you try to make it happen instead of allowing it to happen. Sometimes you can hook into that effort kind of thing. And we're not saying that there are not plenty of wonderful thoughts that humans think, and that there are not plenty of wonderful streams of thoughts that you could hook into. But once you begin to connect with the energy of Source, you will always know whether you are in vibrational alignment with that, or if you've picked up on some stream of thought. We like to tease our friends and say, if what you're receiving feels loving and is encouraging you and is offering guidance about where to go, know that you have aligned with that which is your source. If it's cautioning you or warning you or telling you that you are doing something wrong, it's not your inner being, it's your mother. Or something along the physical trail, you see. And when you think about it, that every thought that you've ever thought still exists, and that law of attraction is causing those thoughts to gather together, then there are plenty of streams of thoughts that do not serve you that are easy to tap into. We want you to realize that it's not an uncommon thing for your thoughts to become intertwined with other thoughts. In fact, it is the most common thing in the world. In fact, we would go so far as to say we have never met any of you, certainly any of you or any of the others, who have ever thought your own private thought. You're not thinking your own private thoughts. You're having thoughts from your perspective, which makes them uniquely yours. But as soon as you put them out there, law of attraction combines them with other thoughts. And that's what makes the mass consciousness expand in this sort of collective, unified, co-creative experience, you see. And so as there are lots of thoughts of warning and lots, Esther, when she first began, was surrounded by people who were continuously saying to her, well, now you're receiving, now you're delving into this non-physical world. You need to do things to protect yourself. And Esther said to us, what is this about? And we said, it is nothing that you are about. There is not any reason to protect yourself. And when you try, the thing you're trying to protect yourself from is more dominant in your vibration, you see. So just relax and know that you're doing extremely well. And don't try to make it happen. And as it evolves, let it be from a feeling place. Spend time getting into alignment and remembering who you are and what you are about. And then when it feels inspired, do it. In other words, don't force it. And under those conditions, you'll feel your connection long before the words start flowing. When in meditation you get movement, and it is not something that you have defined as your intention, it means that you are interpreting an intention from your broader perspective. You know how when you yawn and you cannot stifle the yawn? That is the cellular asking, and the impulse of thought from broader perspective is causing that. And so in similar manner, everyone without exception has that broader perspective. And when you sit to meditate and you quiet your mind and you therefore release more and more and more resistance so that you are on the same vibrational wavelength of that which is your broader perspective, then the impulse from broader perspective is what is happening. You all have access to infinite intelligence, that it is your unconscious interpretation of that non-physical part of you. So often when you get into this place where you are beginning to receive, there is this belief, it is very common with so many of our human friends, that says non-physical is now projecting to me and has all of this information that they are wanting to deliver to me. And what we're wanting you to understand is that we are always there in response to what you are asking for. And so it is your desire and in fact your questions that make it go further. And the thing that is a little screwy with so many people, they don't understand what's happening. Sometimes they can sit like that for months or even years where they're getting those impulses, but it doesn't go further. And then they assume that there is something that is going wrong. And we are wanting to remind you that this process of receiving from non-physical is the same as any other process in which you are the creator, in that there is a step 1 and a step 2 and a step 3. And so as you sit to meditate and you quiet your mind, that is the step 3 allowing part. Esther, even when she's wanting to chat with us about something on her own, will identify something that is important to her, and she will get very clear about it and do the step one part even before she sits to meditate, so that there is something that she is wanting to talk about. In the same way that you've prepared to have a chat with us here, you're wanting to prepare to have a chat with those broader resources at any time. And when you have things that you really want to know, and you've been meditating as long as you have, and you sit in a comfortable environment and you release your resistance and you get into that place where you're actually receiving the impulse of your head moving, you are now in the place where you can begin to translate the blocks of thought. And as much as you have heard these blocks of thoughts being translated, it is not a difficult thing for you to do it. But you have to have something that is interesting to you. And to take it further, we would encourage you to just do more of it. Have things you want to talk about, sit often with the impulse of receiving, and in the beginning especially, do not try to have dialogues back and forth as we are having a dialogue back and forth, because as you may have noticed, Esther is not moving back and forth in her process. She has brought herself to the place of receiving, and she is receiving. You're doing the asking, Abraham's doing the answering, Esther's doing the allowing of the interpretation. So it's not an easy thing for you to do both parts. So get your question framed up and then get into a meditative stance and listen for the thoughts that just begin to come across your mind. And the more you do that, the more you will trust that that is what you are receiving. You are getting all kinds of impulses from guidance. And if you will stop once you receive the impulse, and when you are aware that you have been cued and you have received it, and smile and be proud of your receiving of it, more and more and more and more and more of it will happen, until in time you will not feel guidance so much as you will feel oneness with that which is guidance.